Welcome to our countdown of 12 forgotten sci-fi cartoons from the 80s that predicted the future. These animated gems may have faded from memory, but their vision of tomorrow was ahead of its time. In this video, we explore each show's speculative ideas, social resonance, controversies, and any censorship they faced, unearthing how they forecast elements of our world today. Number 12. Space Sentinels. In the shadowy dawn of the 1980s, Space Sentinels harked back to late 1970s television, yet found relevance in the new decade's sensibilities. The series centers on three heroic superhumans, each gifted by a colossal supercomputer known as Sentinel-1. Traveling the cosmos to intercept planetary crises, they wield advanced technology, shape-shifting armor, telepathic links, and instant data analysis that strikingly echoes today's AI systems, drone fleets, and networked intelligence. What makes Space Sentinels compelling is its optimistic embrace of centralized, computer-aided governance and enhanced human capability. Episodes predicted coordinated aerial monitoring, predictive environmental control, and a form of digital-driven peacekeeping. It resonated with viewers fascinated by NASA-era exploration and the dawn of home computing. Controversies around the cartoon were minimal, though it did attract modest criticism from parents groups who questioned its militaristic overtones and reliance on a near-omnipotent AI guiding humanity. Some networks edited or omitted scenes, suggesting authority figures yielding decisions to an artificial entity, fearing it might stunt imaginative autonomy in young audiences. Culturally, the series influenced later shows that feature benevolent AI overseers and heroic triads synced via machine intelligence grid. Though it never achieved blockbuster fame, its legacy survives in works that blend human agency with digital orchestration. From a censorship standpoint, certain international broadcasters cut brief sequences that depicted intense planetary destruction or implied global surveillance. These edits were minor and seldom acknowledged by the production company, but they reflect early caution about presenting total system oversight and existential risk in children's media. Ultimately, Space Sentinels stands as a time capsule of hopeful futurism, melding 80s idealism with seeds of modern digital reality. Its portrayal of protective AI, collaborative computing, and humanity's partnership with advanced systems makes it a fitting entry in our countdown of visionary animated works. Number 11. Thundar the Barbarian. Set in an Earth ravaged by sorcery, rogue science, and a shattered moon. Thundar the Barbarian, 1981, dared to depict a post-apocalyptic landscape shaped by radical environmental collapse and unstable technology. Its heroes, Thundar, a fierce warrior, alongside companions, with a blend of swordplay and laser weaponry, journeyed through remnants of ruined cities, mutated wildlife, and arcane high-tech threats. The show eerily mirrored today's concerns about climate breakdown, advanced weaponry gone awry, and societal adaptation in a world without stable infrastructure. The foresight lay in environmental catastrophe as backdrop, the fragility of civilization, and the interplay of primitive survival and rediscovered science. Mutated organisms roaming ruined cityscapes prefigured concerns about bioengineering, while rogue artifacts wandered the wasteland like latent threats, reminding modern viewers of abandoned labs or uncontrolled tech. Controversy touched Thundar through its depiction of violence and occasional grotesque mutation. Some advocacy groups lobbied for toned-down depictions of mutated creatures and laser battles, worried they were too intense for young viewers. A handful of episodes were trimmed or reordered in syndication, particularly those with prolonged transformation scenes or collapsing domed cities. though no widespread bans occurred. Culturally, Thundar inspired a generation drawn to speculative survival, post-collapse storytelling, and genre blending. Its aesthetic influenced later stories in comics and animation, where the mesh of medieval and futuristic elements became a staple of savage future narratives. Censorship history remains relatively light, limited to modest edits by local stations, removing flash-forward glimpses of civilization-ending calamity or sequences that lingered on crumbling infrastructure. These edits seldom affected narrative coherence, though enthusiastic fans in later years restored missing segments via home video transfers. In sum, Thundar the Barbarian carved out a unique niche, melding dystopian environment, primitive heroism, and echoes of advanced tech. Its resonance with contemporary issues of ecological fragility and post-technological survival earns its spot as a forgotten yet prophetic cornerstone of 80s animation. Number 10. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. Though partially live-action and partially computer-animated, Captain Power and Soldiers of the Future, 1987 to 88, straddles the cartoonish brink and earns a place here for its visionary commentary. Set decades ahead, it envisioned interactive battle simulations, holographic training, smart armor, and toy-linked technology, anticipating both virtual and augmented reality, the Internet of Things, and concerns around mechanized warfare. In the show, young viewers could purchase toy weapons that synced with televised episodes, triggering events inside the show or unlocking hidden plot points. This interactivity foretold modern second-screen gaming, augmented reality tie-ins, and immersive transmedia worlds. Moreover, the narrative's central conflict, a war against the mechanized metal hordes, an AI-driven army, echoes debates on AI autonomy in military systems and ethical robotics. Controversy erupted around the toy integration. Parent organizations and educators criticized the blurring of marketing and entertainment, worrying children would struggle to distinguish programming from advertisement. Regulators in certain regions limited broadcast of toy-linked promotional segments, and some countries even censored or delayed episodes pending review of consumer influence on children. From a cultural standpoint, Captain Power left a lasting impression on how to merge narrative and product ecosystem, pioneering ideas seen in later gaming franchises and theme park integrations. It also seeded discussions around media convergence and commercial influence in kids' programming. Censorship challenges focused on two fronts. Violent combat sequences were trimmed for some child-safe time slots, and the direct appeal to purchase toys was softened or removed entirely in certain markets. These alterations sometimes weakened narrative cohesion, but reflect early caution about marketing's impact via entertainment channels. In retrospect, Captain Power remains a bold, if controversial, experiment in blending storytelling, technology, and consumer culture. Its foresight into interactive media and militarized AI make it one of the more forward-looking, even if underappreciated, entries of the 80s number 9, Max Headroom. Though originally a live-action CG hybrid, Max Headroom, 1987 to 88, included animated sequences in its conceptualization and remains essential here for its dystopian sci-fi satire. In a world where television networks dictate public perception and advertising is compressed into blipverts, the show highlights media saturation, surveillance, targeted messaging, and digital distortion, issues that mirror today's social media filtering, data privacy concerns, algorithmic advertising, and deepfake worries. Max Headroom himself, an artificial digital personality born from an AI reconstruction of a human mind, signals early exploration into digital identity, virtual personas, and the chaos that can ensue when algorithms outsmart their creators. The blipverts concept predicted micro-targeted, hyper-accelerated ads, reminiscent of modern algorithmic commercial tailoring. Controversy followed Max Headroom not only for satirical biting, but also for its portrayal of media control and implied corporate manipulation. Major advertisers pushed back on episodes that portrayed industry overlords in a negative light, leading to network revisions, or in some cases, delayed airings. Additionally, the show's edgy tone and occasional surreal intensity triggered viewer advisory labels, especially in prime time. Culturally, Max Headroom inspired cyberpunk visuals and conceptions of digital avatars and media cynicism. Its influence is seen in later media that depict artificial influencers, surveillance capitalism, and corporate echo chambers. Censorship history includes edited versions aired in certain countries where portraits of media monopoly or overt criticism of industry leaders were deemed too provocative. Some scenes were trimmed or muted to appease broadcasters, though home video and later streaming brought the original uncut content back to light. In a modern context, Max Headroom reads less like fiction and more like a prophecy, casting a mirror to our algorithm-driven media landscape. It remains a smart, darkly humorous, and uncomfortable glimpse into the commodification of the human mind. Number 8. Whiz Kids. While technically a live-action series, Whiz Kids, 1983 to 84, often aired alongside Saturday morning cartoons and targeted the same youthful demographic. It focused on a group of teenage computer prodigies who used their hacking skills to solve crimes, long before cybercrime became a mainstream term. At the center of the show was Richie Adler, a high schooler with access to RALF, a custom-built AI computer. Richie and his friends used RALF to track clues, decode encrypted messages, and tap into government systems. The concept of teenagers casually breaking through digital firewalls and reading classified databases may have sounded wild in 1983, but today it feels uncomfortably plausible. What makes Whiz Kids prophetic is its early portrayal of ethical hacking, youth-driven tech fluency, and computer-assisted surveillance. The show foresaw a future where kids would grow up more tech-savvy than their parents, questioning the limits of privacy, law enforcement, and civil rights in the digital world. The show wasn't without controversy. Critics accused it of glamorizing illegal hacking and giving children dangerous ideas. Some networks added disclaimers to early episodes warning viewers not to imitate the characters. Educational groups pushed for the show to better distinguish between ethical use of tech and criminal intrusion. Though to its credit, the show often emphasized the consequences of irresponsible digital behavior. Culturally, Whiz Kids arrived during the early PC boom, influencing young viewers to engage with computers as tools of empowerment. It helped birth the archetype of the tech genius teen, a motif now ubiquitous in modern sci-fi and tech-centered narratives. From a censorship standpoint, no major bans were issued, but international broadcasts sometimes muted lines referencing real-life agencies or cut scenes involving unauthorized data access. Today, Whiz Kids feels like a relic and a prophecy all in one. Its belief in youthful digital literacy, paired with its cautionary tone, makes it a standout piece of early cyber-age fiction that hit far closer to reality than anyone expected. Number 7. Overdrawn at the Memory Bank airing in 1984 as part of PBS's American Playhouse series. Overdrawn at the Memory Bank is a low-budget, obscure sci-fi feature that was often re-aired in educational settings and broadcast alongside animated sci-fi anthologies internationally. Despite its crude effects, it tackled futuristic concepts that were decades ahead of its time, particularly the digitization of consciousness and media-saturated reality. The story follows a man named Aram Fingal, who rebels against his dystopian, corporatized society by downloading his consciousness into a computer system. He becomes trapped in a virtual simulation that mixes his fantasies with real surveillance feeds, turning his mind into both a playground and a prison. Sound familiar? Concepts like virtual identity entrapment, digital escapism, and AI-controlled environments mirror themes now explored in Black Mirror, The Matrix, and VR culture. Its prediction of neural uploads and human-AI coexistence was radical for the early 80s. At a time when most computers were still beige boxes, this film imagined a future where minds could roam networks and tech conglomerates commodified dreams. Controversy was limited, but noteworthy. Some conservative groups balked at the film's portrayal of corporate-controlled morality and subtle critiques of organized systems. There were also classroom debates about its mature themes, especially as it aired through public education channels. Educators questioned whether the metaphor-heavy story was appropriate for school-aged viewers, leading to reduced syndication in some districts. Though it never faced formal censorship, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank was frequently shuffled out of prime slots and left out of PBS rerun schedules in favor of more neutral programming. Still, the film developed a cult following, particularly among programmers and cyberpunk fans. Its influence may be understated, but its boldness resonates more with time. As we navigate the ethics of brain-computer interfaces and digital identity, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank feels less like an experiment and more like a chilling early warning. It wasn't flashy, but its digital dreams forecast today's very real debates over who we are when we go online and who's watching us. Number 6. Ulysses 31. Merging Greek mythology with interstellar sci-fi, Ulysses 31, 1981 to 82, was a co-production between France and Japan that reimagined the epic tale of Odysseus as a spacefaring hero lost in a distant galaxy. Though it never reached the mainstream in America, it became a cult favorite across Europe and Latin America. And in hindsight, its themes hit far closer to our technological trajectory than most animated shows of its time. The show followed Ulysses and his son Telemachus aboard the spaceship Odyssey, cursed to wander space after defying the gods of the future. Alongside them were robots, AI oracles, and sentient systems that guided or threatened their journey. Ulysses 31 predicted a world where humans would depend on artificial guidance systems, face cosmic justice delivered by synthetic beings, and wrestle with the moral consequences of defying programmed authority. Its blending of ancient morality tales with space-age dilemmas predated the rise of transhumanist and philosophical sci-fi that we now see in shows like Westworld and Raised by Wolves. The cartoon's darker tone, eerie soundtrack, and philosophical questions occasionally raised eyebrows among censors. In some regions, episodes featuring gods behaving cruelly or punishing children were delayed or lightly edited. Scenes depicting the frozen crew, a crew placed in suspended animation as punishment, were deemed disturbing for children and were edited in British and American syndication. Still, the series enjoyed greater freedom in non-English-speaking markets, where it was aired in full and appreciated for its storytelling complexity and rich animation. Culturally, it planted seeds for a new type of animated sci-fi, one that could blend moral weight with interstellar spectacle. Today, Ulysses 31 is remembered not only for its stunning art direction, but also for its cautionary approach to artificial intelligence, loyalty, and the burden of exploration. It predicted the psychological toll of space travel and the emergence of digital gods, ideas that have only become more relevant in the age of AI worship and tech-fueled ethics. Number 5. Brave Star. A futuristic Western set on the desert planet of New Texas, Brave Star, 1987 to 88, brought an innovative blend of space adventure and frontier law enforcement. At the heart of the show was Marshall Bravestar, a Native American hero with superhuman powers linked to animal spirits. Strength of the bear, speed of the puma, eyes of the hawk, and ears of the wolf. What made Bravestar feel prophetic wasn't just its tech, a cybernetic horse that spoke, laser duels, and anti-gravity gear, but its themes. The show tackled topics like environmental protection, addiction to virtual reality, a central plot in the price, and corporate exploitation of alien resources, paralleling real-world climate exploitation, immersive escapism, and colonial industry. Perhaps most remarkable was its episode about VR addiction, where a young boy becomes hooked on digital escapism to the point of self-destruction. This was decades before psychologists began raising red flags about the mental health risks of excessive gaming, online life, or now, the metaverse. The series also stood out for making a Native American character the central figure, something rare in both animation and science fiction at the time. While some elements were stylized for fantasy, the show made an effort to treat Bravestar's culture with respect and depth. Controversy surrounded its tone. Some episodes were considered too dark or emotionally intense for younger viewers. Episodes like The Price were briefly pulled from broadcast rotation in some U.S. markets due to their heavy subject matter. International broadcasters occasionally trimmed scenes with intense moral lessons or depictions of addiction and grief. Despite having a short run, Bravestar left a deep imprint on viewers. Its blend of morality, futurism, and identity placed it ahead of its time. It showed that science fiction could address the human spirit and ethical struggle just as powerfully as any live-action drama. Today, it's recognized as one of the boldest animated experiments of the decade, one that dared to blend future tech with timeless lessons. Number 4. Silverhawks. From the creators of Thundercats came a futuristic cousin, Silverhawks, 1986, an animated space opera that reimagined the classic hero team as cybernetically enhanced space enforcers. Set in a distant galaxy known as Limbo, the series followed a group of partly metal, partly real warriors battling the monstrous criminal Monstar and his gang. What felt like pulp sci-fi in the 80s now reads like a metaphor for transhumanism, cybernetic augmentation, and the evolving definition of what it means to be human. The Silverhawks' abilities weren't mystical. They were engineered. Wings, voice-modulated weapons, integrated tech, and advanced flight capabilities hinted at a future where biology and machinery blur. The heroes' metallic bodies acted as both armor and interface, foreshadowing the conversations we now have about neural implants, prosthetic enhancements, and wearable military tech. Culturally, Silverhawks stood out for its cosmic jazz soundtrack, stylized visuals, and commitment to showing teamwork among beings of different origins and modifications. The villains, too, embodied themes of transformation, with Monstar undergoing a gruesome mechanical metamorphosis triggered by beams of artificial light, a process both dazzling and disturbing. Controversy touched the series in international markets. Some broadcasters in Europe and Asia criticized the series' reliance on violent transformations and stylized combat, prompting censorship boards to cut or shorten action scenes. In particular, Monstar's transformation sequence, featuring clawed appendages, glowing eyes, and bone-snapping visuals, was edited out in several versions. Others removed scenes where robotic enemies were destroyed in explosions deemed too intense. Despite these cuts, Silverhawks enjoyed a strong cult following and inspired countless futuristic character designs in later animated series and video games. The show's underlying message, that technology could either corrupt or elevate depending on the soul within, resonates now more than ever, as society debates AI, augmented bodies, and who controls the machinery of the future. Though often overshadowed by its feline predecessor, Silverhawks remains a vital entry in the 1980s sci-fi canon. It dared to explore the mechanical body as both weapon and identity, a concept now central to modern science fiction and even military research. Number 3. Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs. Set in a time when Earth has colonized the stars, Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs, 1987, fused the swagger of a Western with the machinery of a mecha anime. Show's central conflict revolved around defending interstellar settlements from the Outriders, a race of interdimensional bandits who could phase between realities, prefiguring concepts we now explore in quantum theory, parallel worlds, and AI-driven threats. The titular team piloted the giant robot Ramrod, transforming from a spacecraft into a towering mech armed with futuristic artillery. Each character embodied a facet of frontier justice. Saber Rider, the calm leader; Colt, the brash sharpshooter; Fireball, the hot-headed pilot; and April, the tech genius. Together, they blended brains, brawn, and strategy in ways that echoed modern multidisciplinary strike teams. What set Saber Rider apart was its willingness to tackle societal themes beneath the action. Episodes hinted at ethical questions of occupation, the treatment of alien species, and the consequences of unchecked military expansion. Issues still relevant in today's geopolitical climate. While originally a Japanese series called Star Musketeer Bismarck, it was heavily re-edited for American audiences. Entire episodes were reordered or cut. Dialogue was rewritten, and romantic subplots were removed to make the series more appropriate for younger viewers. Even April's role was downplayed in the US version, a move that later drew criticism for sidelining one of the show's most technically proficient characters. Internationally, the show's depiction of interdimensional travel and semi-invisible enemies led to complaints from parents groups who feared it blurred fantasy and reality too aggressively. In some regions, the phasing powers of the Outriders were considered too surreal or confusing and were lightly censored or rewritten. Still, Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs endures as a prescient vision of future warfare, space colonization, and mechanical justice. Its influence can be felt in everything from Power Rangers to Pacific Rim. Beneath the cowboy tropes and robot battles lay a surprising commentary on how human values survive or shift when we head for the stars. Number 2. The Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers. The Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, 1986, might be one of the most overlooked sci-fi cartoons of the 1980s. Yet it tackled future ethics, cybernetic enhancements, intergalactic politics, and artificial intelligence with startling maturity. Set in the year 2086, the show followed 4 elite peacekeepers with enhanced abilities, operating under BETA, an Earth-based government alliance that dealt with alien diplomacy and law enforcement across the galaxy. Each ranger had a unique upgrade. Zachary Fox's bionic arm gave him immense strength. Nico had psychic abilities and archaeological expertise. Doc Hartford wielded a powerful AI interface. And Shane Gooseman was a genetically modified super soldier haunted by his past. These powers weren't just flashy gimmicks. They represented a philosophical divide between natural evolution and synthetic modification. The show predicted our growing reliance on augmented reality, biohacking, and government surveillance of powerful technologies. It subtly questioned the price of peace when tools of violence are distributed across the stars, and who decides which species gets to govern whom. Galaxy Rangers pushed storytelling boundaries with serialized plots, mature dialogue, and emotional weight. However, this ambition led to issues with censorship and syndication. Networks struggled to slot it alongside lighter Saturday morning fare. Some stations pulled episodes due to darker content, including plots involving hostage negotiations, psychological trauma, and AI rebellion. The show's villains weren't bumbling cartoons. They were often tragic or morally ambiguous figures with relatable motivations. Internationally, edits softened character deaths and downplayed some of the more intense philosophical debates. The psychic torture of Nico in one episode was heavily censored in European and Canadian airings. Additionally, the show's female characters, though strong, were often cut from key scenes to reduce intensity. A controversial decision that didn't go unnoticed by critics. Despite its short run, The Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers gained a devoted cult following. Its high-stakes world building, character development, and themes of identity, free will, and moral authority remain relevant. In many ways, it was too smart for its time, and too futuristic to fit neatly into 1980s animation norms. Number 1. Voltron, Defender of the Universe. At the top of our list is a show that fused ancient legend, robotic engineering, and intergalactic defense into a franchise that helped shape the future of animation. Voltron, Defender of the Universe, 1984 to 1985. Though widely known, it's often forgotten just how visionary and ahead of its time this series truly was. Adapted from two Japanese anime, Beast King Go Lion and Armored Fleet Deruger 15, Voltron was one of the first cartoons to introduce American audiences to combining mechs. 5 robotic lions merging to form a towering warrior. This concept would become the foundation for countless sci-fi and action franchises, from Power Rangers to Pacific Rim. Beyond the dazzling fights and colorful villains, Voltron was steeped in themes of planetary unification, technological dependency, and the burden of centralized power. Each lion pilot hailed from a different background, reflecting a diverse coalition fighting for galactic peace. The idea that humanity could, and should, collaborate across differences to operate as one powerful unit was a prescient metaphor in an era defined by Cold War divisions. Censorship played a major role in shaping what Western viewers saw. The original Japanese series was far darker, featuring on-screen deaths, torture, and themes of tyranny. These elements were either rewritten, edited out, or replaced with more sanitized narratives in the American version. Characters who died in the original were injured or disappeared in the dub. Emotional arcs were flattened to focus on action, and any references to intense trauma or political overreach were erased. Despite that, enough of the show's core survived to leave a lasting cultural mark. Voltron predicted the rise of multinational alliances and AI-integrated combat systems. Its themes of collective strength, responsibility, and technological symbiosis echo in everything from drone warfare to modular robotics today. In retrospect, Voltron wasn't just a mecha spectacle. It was a sci-fi blueprint hiding inside a toy commercial. And in doing so, it showed us that even children's programming could dare to imagine and warn about the world of tomorrow. These forgotten sci-fi cartoons weren't just entertainment. They were glimpses into the future, wrapped in celluloid and dreams. Which one surprised you most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a dive into pop culture's weirdest and wisest moments.